Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add custom kernel module in Linux source tree. Till now, we have seen how to add our kernel module as a out of tree modules. So in this video, I'm also going to show you how to compile our kernel module into static kernel image. So that your kernel will be always loaded at the boot up time. In out of tree modules and all, we can insert or remove our module using ins mode or rm mode. If you are compiling your kernel model into static kernel image at the boot up time, it will be always loaded. You cannot remove or insert using ins mode or rm mode and all. Let's directly get into the demo.
This is my kernel source tree. I want to add my custom kernel module inside drivers folder. You can add it anywhere inside drivers. I have added inside MISC folder. Here you have to create one folder. So I have created a hello folder here. Then I have copied my kernel module and makefile over here. If you see just hello.c, same kernel module source file I have copied over here. Normally in our loadable kernel module we used to give obj -m then our source file object. If you give obj -m then your module will be built as a loadable kernel module. So if you say obj -y then your module will be directly built as a static kernel image. Here we are conditionally compiling our kernel module. So whenever your module is configured in menu config or in some other kernel config, then only we are enabling our module. Otherwise our module will not be built. Then we have to create one Kconfig entry. Kconfig is actually a input for your kernel configuration. For example, if you do make menu config, there will be many entries over there. So all the entries are from Kconfig file. Here for our hello module, we have to create a configuration name. So hello underscore module is the configuration name. Then there are three states are there in Kconfig. By default, if you are not selecting anything, your module will not be selected. But if you make y, then your module will be built as a static kernel image. If you give option as m, then it will be built as a loadable kernel module. Here by default we are saying here as a m, so it will be built as a loadable kernel module. Through menu config I am going to change this option as y, so that it will be built as a static kernel image. Help is just to for giving some message about your kernel module. So whenever you do make menu config, if you press h, then it will show this message. Then we have to tell about our module into the parent source file. So if you see here, MISC is our parent folder. Here inside MISC makefile, we have to tell our kernel custom kernel module, so that kernel build system will know our module. You see at the end I have added our configuration here. Config underscore hello underscore module. So actually config underscore you have to add before your module name, you have to add config underscore. Then here I am adding hello folder. Similar way in parent Kconfig also you have to add your source entry. You see here at the end I have added our custom kernel Kconfig here. If you see the Kconfig file, right, it has some syntax, so you have to tell what is the menu entry it has to be. If you do menu config, it will show us MISC devices. Then you have to tell all your config option. At the end, if you have to tell that end menu option, menu end menu. Inside you have to tell all the config option, then your source file entry. This is the syntax of Kconfig. Now we can configure our custom kernel module. So I'm going to do menu config here. Here if you see inside device drivers, because we have added inside drivers folder, so all the device drivers will be there inside device drivers. There inside MISC we have added our entry, so we have to go inside MISC devices. This menu entry in Kconfig we have seen this menu entry only. misc devices. So we have to go inside that. At the end, if you see our custom module I have added here, if you see there, by default the try state was m. So because of that, here it has got selected as m. So because kconfig is the input for our menu config, so it has taken that as an input and it is reflecting as m here. So I want to change this to star so that it will be built as a static kernel image. Now I am going to save this configuration. Yes. So after menu config, it will generate one .config file. If you see .config file, then here if you see hello, see now our module is defined over here. So it has mentioned as y, so that it will be built as a static kernel image. Now I'm going to build a kernel image for our Raspberry Pi. See here, now our custom kernel module has built and also it has created that image, our kernel image. Now we need to copy our kernel image into Raspberry Pi boot partition. So this is my Raspberry Pi console. I have already copied my kernel image into the Raspberry Pi board. So if you see here, because since we have added our kernel module as a static kernel image, at the boot up time itself our module will be loaded. So if you see vmessage test underscore, because this test underscore init only we have added in our module init print. See here, our module is already loaded. We have not done any sudo insmod or mod pro. Still our kernel module is loaded into the system. That's all for this video. So we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.